What's doing, bro? How was last night?
Yeah, it was right. After you dropped me at the airport, I had a couple of hours to wait. So, like always, when I carry on the footy field, I had to go do all our content for today, bro. So you're sipping on coffees at the footy while I was at the airport.
It was cold at the footy. It was very cold at the footy. Yeah, lucky I brought that jacket after I dropped you off.
I'm sore today.
I had a great day. It was hilarious.
Mate, fucking winding back the clock.
I was only saying to the guys in here, the content guys, when I got in here. I was impressed yesterday. Some of the conversations in that sheds were on a different level. I wish I concentrated at school or was better at IT and computers. They're all geniuses.
Well, your little pea scatterbrain to their brains is very different, a bit like mine too. So,
it was mad though. And I've highlighted the day was Brad Takarangi, ex-NRL player, teeing off on our big front rower. That was how bad was that?
What about? How about this? We've been up and running 1 week, and we're already in the spotted column.
Buzz Rothfield, your man. I swear, Buzz taps your phone, eh?
He'd have to have mine tapped.
Things he's known over the years. When I've got a random message from him going, "Hey, it's Buzz here. Can you give me a ring?" Things that only my mum knows. So maybe mum's a snitch. I don't know.
Yeah, maybe mum's getting paid with a snitch.
Oh, he knows everything. He knows everything. Yeah. What did he put in the paper? It was a...
I think it's just
Todd
spotted.
Carney looks 60.
Yeah. Buzz, if you are listening to our podcast, which I hope you are, buddy, next time you put us in the spotted, maybe throw our logo at 6s and 7s, give us a little bit more publicity. I do like, you know what? I give Buzz a bit of a hard time, probably because he gave me a bit of a hard time. But at the end of the day, he was doing his job, and he can sit back now and laugh at it.
The good thing is once you retire, you can say whatever he wants. The only paranoia when you're playing is you're going to get sacked and get your contract ripped up.
Yeah, talking about paranoia and Buzz, it's a funny story. When I first signed at Cronulla, the great Gavin Miller, obviously a Sharks legend and a Golden legend, family friend of mine, he was a big part of me going to Cronulla, and he started sort of coming down to train and stuff. And after one game, he goes, "Oh, you want to come for a beer?" And I'm like, "Oh, yeah, sweet." And Gav's known to polish beers. So me and someone polishing beers isn't great. So we've gone up to that.
Is he to blame? Is he to blame? The great Gavin Miller?
Wasn't it? No, because I was pretty level-headed that night because I was just sitting with Gav. So he goes,
Not just that night, your whole life.
Yeah, well, my whole life on the drink was a fuck-up, wasn't it? Yeah, so take you back to the night. So we've just finished. We had a win. Get to the Gymea RSL, and I just live around the corner. I walk in there and goes there, and Buzz is there.
What a crew.
Long story short, we were having beers, and Buzz was my best mate at Cronulla. So and by the end of the night, well, it was pretty not too eventful, just sitting there talking footy. And my mate Buzz allegedly fell asleep, and I allegedly took a photo of him.
Where is it? Let's leak it.
No. Well, I woke up the next morning. I thought, I can't keep doing that. I deleted it. I wish I kept it for a rainy day because it wasn't too much longer. He started hammering me again when I wasn't in the Sharks jumper.
There's no point going back and forth with Buzz.
He's the best.
People have been trying to come back at Buzz since the 80s, and he's still standing. So
he's the best.
Better off just.
And you know what? That's his job. And he does it well. So
we love Buzz. As long as he can keep giving us compliments on this show and bit of like getting behind us, we'll be happy, eh? I just want to know if he's tapped my phone over the years because honestly, he knows everything.
He'd have some fair information then.
Yeah, he doesn't know everything then.
Well, like today, we're here to talk about footy, and round 1 of the preseason challenges. He's over. Had some young kids on display over the weekend, and I guess the scores indicate there's a lot of young kids out there, and they'll learn a lot out of it. Take me back to when you first played your trials, Stu, and what was it like? And was there a lot of NRL stars around you, or was it just a lot of young blokes? And how did the team go? It was a long time ago, but can you give me a bit of insight into it and how it all went?
Yeah, mate, I remember my first trial game. It was against the Tigers at Allianz Stadium. Mate, it feels like yesterday, 2006. 7. So that was the year I debuted. I ended up debuting in round 2, but I look back at footage, I was so skinny. I was only 17 at the time, playing with guys like Craig Wing, Craig Fitzgibbon, Braith Astor, Anthony Minicello. I just thought I'd name drop this morning. It makes me feel good. Wind the clock back.
Wind the clock.
I've got a few more names. Sean Kenny Dow, Mitch Orbison. All the boys, the younger crew that kind of went on to win comps, no biggie, at the Roosters there. But, yeah, we had, mate, how good is it? You're going in, you put your boots and socks on, you look around the room at all your heroes for the first time. I had Brad Fittler running the blue shirt. I remember Freddie behind just screaming at me, kick to the corners, make your tackles. Like, it was like a movie. It was,
would have happened all so fast.
What about you? What did you play? What was your first trial?
Mine was in 2003. I was 17 and we were playing the Bulldogs at Coffs Harbour. And I ended up going on and playing the centres. I was marking Willie Talau for the last 15 minutes of the game.
Willie Talau?
Yeah.
Bulldogs. Who was his centre partner? They were guns at the Dogs.
Willie Tonga.
Willie Tonga and him, that's right.
Willie Tonga right side.
No, they had another one who got 5 tries one game. Vangana, that's the one.
Oh, Nigel Vangana, yeah. No, but I'm pretty sure on this night I marked Willie Talau. I got thrown on the centres just to give me a bit of game time, I think it was. So, but yeah, I didn't debut that year. I waited for 2004, but it was a good learning experience. Obviously, like I said, I always speak highly of Matty, and he always had a plan in place. And that plan on that night was to get me out and have a bit of footy and have a bit of fun. So it felt right, so it was good.
Why centre? Because you were playing halves all for the juniors, weren't you?
Oh, because I was always a half or just a running. I was a bit of a chunky kid back then.
You were fat, eh?
Hey,
if we can get a photo on our socials about Toddy as a kid. There was that Aussie Schoolboys. Was it Junior Roos you played? I remember
Junior Roos.
Mate, you
2000, yeah.
Doesn't even look
I
like
was massive. Nah, my head's swollen like a bee sting.
Get a photo up, please. Less tattoo. You had like one sleeve that was like a kangaroo and a southern. What is the stars?
Oh, the Southern Cross.
Yeah, you had one of those putrid old tattoos with one.
Don't start talking about shit
red
tattoos.
hair with freckles.
Red hair. I was dyed blonde, strawberry blonde.
It's not where you start, it's where you finish, bro.
And like I did say, we are going to dissect the games of the weekend, but I want to take us back. There was a few old boys also playing over the weekend, and it wasn't in the NRL. It was at Ringrose Park at Wentworth Park. Me, my great mate, Mitchell Pearce, wound back the clock for the Mark Hughes Foundation, the Goanna Foundation for Sportshed TV. We played a bit of footy yesterday. How'd you pull up?
I'm pretty sore. For the listeners, I actually did nothing, but I went to the line at one point, put my mate over for a little line break, and some guy's just taking me out in the ribs. Got a penalty for it, but I was going to bed last night, a bit of rib cartilage damage.
Yeah.
Woke up a bit sore this morning, but mate, I had the best day. Honestly, thanks for everyone out there that invited us along. Hey, we both had a great time. We're only saying after the game that it inspired us to want to play some A grade or something again, because it was first going back into the sheds. All the lads there were really welcoming, all in content and different guys. Rugby League Guru was there. Had a really good chat with him. Yeah, it was just a different sort of scene, but it was cool, wasn't it, Toddy? Just to obviously run out with the boys, but then even just all the convos around it. Obviously, the space we're getting in, and got some good insights on stuff. But
yeah, I love jumping in the charity games and like take all that side of part of it, like watching the kids in the crowd, and obviously when they seen GI walk out from out of the sheds, he didn't play, but we played for his foundation, and the look on some of the kids' eyes, and then obviously the guys in the sheds getting photos with and stuff, that's priceless to them. And if you look back, not so much when we were kids, but you look when you're around your idols or someone that you watch for so long, and they're all rugby league fans, it sort of brings us back to why we play the game. And I know we did speak about yesterday playing a bit of A grade, but I've woken up this morning, my knee's swollen, I can hardly walk, I've got sore ribs. But it felt right. It felt good.
What about Brad Takarangi? Come on. Tell the viewers about Brad Takarangi.
Before I talk about Tackers, it just felt right yesterday. Like I don't regret too much, but I regret not playing as much football. Like, obviously, it was my wrongdoing. I left the Roosters at the time, but it would have been good to see how far we could have took things and got another crack in Origin, things like that. But hey, you can't wind back the clock and you can't change time. But yesterday, we got to wind back the clock, change some time, and it looked like we hadn't missed a beat at some points.
I felt like the best player in the world against some blokes that never played footy. Honestly, our combination was world class. There was a cutout ball I threw to the winger. I think the right winger was at the post defending, so there was about 40 metres, and I threw this ball. I felt like Wally Lewis.
Mate,
and then I had to just remind myself that these guys had never played footy.
Never played footy, yeah.
But it's good for the confidence.
Yeah, well, it is. But that's the thing, when you cross the line, when you're playing those charity games, I've played in a fair few of them, been a bit tired a lot longer than you, but it's fun until someone takes someone's knees out or someone puts a shot. Obviously, Tackers waits to the 68th minute or whatever it was, and just folds old, mate. He better be careful. He needs to. I know it was all fun and games, and it probably went out of context a little bit, but I've seen it's been posted online, and there's a fair few people having a dig at him. And the big fella that he sort of laced out, wasn't too impressed that he hadn't sort of apologised. So, Tackers, if you're listening, and I'm sure you are.
Pick on someone your own size, Tackers.
Yeah, well, yeah. Or say sorry.
I love Tackers.
That's the thing. That's when it crosses your mind and you want to go out and try and win. And at that point, it was 32-all. So we'll blame it on the score.
How good was some of the sprays behind the line?
Oh, mate.
I didn't know, so...
Inspiration.
For the viewers, it was a bit... You sort of go in as obviously ex-players and that, and you sort of don't know what the standard's like. Or, mate, from the first try, the boys were spraying each other. There was one...
Yeah, they weren't happy with some of the boys' defence, and they were lighting them up. Because a few of them did play footy.
Yeah, there's a couple of real good players, but thanks to all the lads, I had a really good time, and it made me want to play footy again. And as I said, when I threw that cutout ball, it's the best I've ever felt in a game of footy.
Well, enough as us old boys. Let's try to dissect some real rugby league players. And our first game was the Cronulla Sharks and the Canberra Raiders. Sharks end up winning 40-10. But from the outset of the game, Canberra started really well. They had some of their big names. They still had a few out. But I thought Canberra started well. Jamal Fogarty and Haas with Ethan Strange. They had Big Puppers up front for a little bit. They didn't play a lot of minutes. Obviously, they go to Vegas in a couple of weeks, so they'll get their game time there. But then, I don't know if it was that they had the big guns come off, but Sharks put on a display. Nico Hines sort of started to find his rhythm with Trindle. End up winning convincingly 40-10. Sharks middles. I like their middles. Adam Fanua-Blake, obviously, Tommy Hazleton, and there's a few lads that come off the bench that are going to really cause some damage in the middle. And I like the Sharks the way they went for their first sort of hit out with some of their star players. And we'll see a lot more players in Vegas. What was your thoughts on it, and where do you think they'll go in both teams?
Yeah, I said last week Cronulla for top 3, and it just reaffirmed to me that I think they can win the comp. I thought, like you just said, Nico was outstanding, had his hand in a couple, scored a try early, had his hand in another, and then he threw that beautiful pass that his winger dropped. So he had his hands in everything early. As you said, Fanua-Blake, we spoke about it last week, he's their X factor. He's going to be, him and Nico are probably going to determine whether they win the comp or not and how well they play in those big games, and we've said that. But him, just his influence, you can tell he lifts all the other guys around him. Canberra, I think it's good old Canberra again, in my own honest opinion. Yeah, they started all right, and it's hard to sort of tell in trial games, but for me, yeah, it was good old Canberra again. I think we're going to see a season where it's a bit of an up and down sort of season. That's the honest truth.
What is your thoughts there? Like, obviously, we've been coached by Ricky at Origin level, and you've been coached by him at club level, yeah?
I've had Sticky I had Sticky when I first came, so he recruited me to the Roosters. So I got a lot of respect for Sticky.
So obviously we know he can coach, but there's always got them lapses in it, and it might be just a Canberra thing, but they've got the quality players to be an outstanding team.
What do you think it is? You've been there. You come through there. What do you? Because
it's hard to play Canberra at home. We always love playing at home, and it's a hard place to go. I don't know what it is. They've got strike all over the field. They just have those little lapses. They can either get into a game and be out in front, and then they'll get run down, or there'll be the vice versa. A team will get away on them, and they'll try and run them down. I don't know if it's just finding a rhythm and getting it to happen. I love Jamal Foggy the way he plays. He steers his ship really well, and then his 5'8" Strange, the left footer. He's sharp. I think his second year or a bit more first grade, he's just going to continue to get better. He's a runner. He's a strong runner. If they play Sebastian Krisk at fullback, my only concerns there is he doesn't have a sort of passing game where you look at the fullbacks these days that are at the top of the tree. They need to be able to adapt and pass and sometimes take a kick or sometimes take the pressure off their halves. I think Chevy Stewart's probably a little bit off still. He's obviously a gun in his own age or in the lower grades, but he just needs time, and they do have time to give him. But he's obviously they're riding him to be that fullback. KO Weeks is there; he can do that, but they sort of swapped and changed with him last year in the halves. So hopefully they get that 6, 7, 9, and 1, and then their players around that. They've signed a few English guys, obviously.
And Sticky's good with the English guys, eh? You talk about Sticky, and from a bit of insight, for me, Sticky's a great senior group coach. He's old school. When you think about the year they nearly beat the Roosters, was it the 18 or 19 grand final? 19 grand final.
Yeah.
Where there was a bounce of the ball. He had all those. He had Bateman there. He had Whitehead was there, wasn't he? Jared Croker, your great mate. They had Jack Whiten in the halves. Aiden Caesar played really good footy that year as a senior half, leading them around. I think when Canberra have had their best years, and even when you were there, they've always had a good, strong senior group. I feel like Sticky gets the best out of that type of group where, as you just said, all those names you just said, they've got a lot of younger boys finding their way in the NRL now, still sort of searching for their identity a bit. And I think, and for whatever reason you've been there, living out of Canberra and with the travel, you need that really solid group, don't you, to keep consistency through the year for all your away games and all the different conditions. So for me, that's how I see them. So I feel like it's going to be a bit of a roll of the dice for them again this year to see how they handle all of that with the sort of roster they've got. But just going back to Cronulla quickly, what really impressed me was there was 2 tries off kicks in the game, in the trial game. I know it's only a trial, but their desire to get down and chase kicks, that's the stuff that's going to win them a comp this year. You know, they've got the talent there. But Fitzy, that's Craig Fitzgibbon for you. That's his imprint coming out after his 3rd season there is, you know, you desire 1%ers, kick pressures, kick chasers. They got 2 tries off just hustling off kicks. They got plenty of other nice tries and nice footy off Nico, but that's the happiest. That's the thing that Fitzy would have been happiest with in the game. And if they ambush sides this year, they'll go with anyone.
Yeah, I thought Nico was freed up a little bit. He wasn't always had his hands on the ball. He wasn't front and centre the whole time. They sort of shared that workload. And I think when you share the workload with both of them, it gives a defence different people to look at, where if it's always Nico, they can just focus on Nico. If it's always Trindle, they'll focus on Trindle, where they sort of split the field a little bit, sort of jumped over. They like to jump left and right side of the field, which obviously helps. But what I was most impressed out of the Sharks is obviously their big middles. They can score close to the line because they're big and robust. And the outside backs, obviously they'll get a few of them back to come Vegas. But it's going to be a good game over there. I think obviously the field's a little bit shorter, but it's always a good spectacle over there for the teams that are going. And it was good to see them with their big guns on the weekend, and they'll have them all in a couple of weeks.
Just made me laugh when you were talking about Vegas. I was just looking at the team lists last night, just going, who has to be on their best behaviour out of those teams going to Vegas? Fanua Blake comes to my mind.
The
Imagine him getting around the casinos over there with his big
the
bum
great man's
bag.
going to Vegas.
Yeah, I know.
I'm off to Vegas.
Well, 5 years ago, you going to Vegas would have been the worst nightmare. But how are you going to go there?
Yeah, it's obviously like we all like Yannick, when me and you always talk about different things in our lives and stuff. Me going to Vegas, I'm comfortable. I'm comfortable to go there, but I have to prepare. I have to prepare for different things that will come at me, because at the end of the day, I'm a big boy. Obviously I'm not going to go to Vegas and sit in my room. I'm not going to go to Vegas and sit in my room and just wait for the nines to come on or whatever I've got to do there. I'm going to go out and see the bright lights and stuff like that. But the temptation won't get me anymore. But obviously, you still got to prepare yourself of like the different things, different feelings that you get.
So tell us what's the difference? What's the triggers? What are you worried about?
Well, I'm not worried. I'm definitely not worried about anything. But there's triggers. Like obviously, we're staying at the Treasure Island Casino, so you're going to walk through the casino. I haven't gambled since I stopped drinking, so I'm going to be walking through playing all these things. And it's not a sake of, I just chucked $5 on, because that's not in my morals. It's sort of like, okay, I've just got to be there, present, and look about it. But I'll have to think about it. I'll have to write things down. I've got a daily routine that I do anyway. So it's sort of, I'm just going to have to, I'll make some phone calls before I go to people that sort of keep me in check. But I'm not concerned. If I was concerned, I wouldn't go. But like Anthony, you do have those temptations. Like,
it'd be really
that's
cool.
life.
It'd be really cool, like a run through Vegas. Like we wouldn't have said that in our early
get
days.
Up and go for a run, yeah.
Right. Imagine doing like a 6K, 6 a.m. morning run, running past all the dusted people coming out of the casinos, and you're there just flying through on your fitness wave. Honestly, I reckon it'd be awesome.
6s and 7s hat on and just run through the streets and like Forrest Gump. Mate, it's like anything. We always have our challenges, and I'm comfortable to go there. I'm looking forward to it. Got an opportunity to go with a company called Titan Coal. They reached out to go over, and similar to what we did in the weekend, but obviously blokes that play footy, playing the nines, and I'll get to see the NFL Combine, sort of, which is NRL Combine that they do over there for the NRL. And I'm not staying for the games. I'll just get back and watch it at home. But yeah, it'd be a good little getaway, and to just sort of show my face in different places. It will be experience for me. I've been to Vegas in 2010. It'll be very different to that.
So you got the nines and then the NRL games?
NRL games Sunday. So you've got the 4 games. You've got the girls, Australia versus England, Wigan and Warrington.
Oh, Wigan Warrington are playing.
A few ex-NRL players. Sam Burgess, obviously coach of Warrington. They'll bring a massive crowd. And then you've got our NRL games, which is it's going to be a massive spectacle. Obviously, the women's game's growing. It's a massive occasion for the girls to get over there and test themselves against England. And then, like I said, Wigan Warrington's a massive rivalry. You know what it's like over there. Their crowd's different to ours. They sing and dance and sort of carry on. So it'll be good. And then our fans will get a look at them, and it's going to be great. But like I said, I'm not staying for the games, but it's a massive occasion for rugby league on that weekend.
What about you just talking about Wigan? What about, did anyone watch the game? Obviously, Wigan, was it Lee on the weekend?
Wigan Lee, 1-0.
1-0.
In Golden Point.
1-0. I haven't seen the game. I have to watch it back. I watched a few of my mates playing at Hull KR and watched the Cattle and Dragons play on the weekend. Then there was another score. What was the score in
Salford got beat by St Helens, 82-0, and our old Broncos player, Tristan Saylor, 3 tries, 177 metres, obviously man of the match. What a great start for him for over there in the Super League. But 82-0. Salford finished 5th last year.
Mate, if that's an NRL coach, you're getting walked out of the sheds by the police with your contract ripped up.
The old Parramatta great and Bulldogs great, Christian Innie. Remember he used to smile when he had the fangs? He's an assistant coach at Salford, so he might find himself as a head coach this morning.
Honestly, if it was an NRL coach, you're not even doing your after-match speech.
Nah.
You just sacked on the spot, 82-0. I'm watching the highlights after this just for a laugh. Sixes and Sevens is brought to you by Property 360.
At Property 360, the passionate team of property investment experts spend countless hours researching market trends and data to find the very best deals for their clients. They provide a comprehensive property acquisition service, assisting investors with privileged insights and delivering measurable results.
Partnering with Property 360 means having a dedicated advisor by your side, guiding you through each step of your property investment journey. Head to property360.com.au to find out more.
Well, you would have got a chance to watch these highlights, and it was Parramatta versus Newcastle, your old club. Parramatta 44, Newcastle 18. I'll start with Para, and then we'll dive into Newcastle. But Parramatta looked a whole lot different than team than last year. They looked fit. They looked fast. The two halves steered the show. Dylan Brown, we weren't sceptical of him last week. We just sort of challenged. I wasn't. I was just sceptical of the price money, which I'm allowed to.
Yeah, you say whatever you want.
But I also said he needed a firecracker like you did, and that firecracker seemed to work because on the weekend, him and Ronald Volcom, I know they won't be the starting halves pairing, but if they had to go to them during the year around Origin time, Ronald Volcom played really well. And Dylan Brown was in everything, scored a try, set up a couple, but he moved around the field like me and you had spoken about, like what sort of style he was going to get. And obviously Volcom's a younger player and he probably felt he had to step up. But hopefully when Moses comes back in, we see that Dylan Brown that was bouncing all over the field, because what it done, it freed him up, but also put the defence under so much pressure.
That firecracker you sent in the Express Post arrived just on time because, honestly, he was unbelievable in every play. Honestly, the most impressive thing for me about the way Vulcan and Dylan Brown played was how square they played. I want to talk about Nathan Brown because he's the assistant coach there now. They've got Sammy Mower there, Jason Riles and Nathan Brown, old coach of mine that I had at Newcastle. And just around specifically attack and running shape and how square players play, Nathan Brown's probably one of the best coaches I've had at that. And you can see his influence in the way that they played. I thought Parramatta looked fit, healthy. They looked like a Melbourne Storm Roosters outfit as far as fitness, and that's Jason Riles' effect. Obviously, the way they're training. That to me, they had more of a glow about them than they've had, a bit of a spring in their step than they've had over the last 5 years. Last few years, sorry. 2 years ago, they made a grand final. So, but yeah, over the last few years, there's a big difference in their energy. I noticed. I know it was only a trial game, but yeah, the way they played, really square. It was really noticeable, and that's going to if they can tinker with their attack. We only spoke about it last week, like you said. Your man Dylan Brown getting more involved, just a little few technical tweaks that they needed. It was really noticeable, so it was good to watch. And
I was impressed with a few of their big outside backs and their back rower, their number 11. I'm going to have an attempt at saying his name, and hopefully I say it, give it credit right. Katoni Karatoga, he was outstanding. He was a handful, big left edge back rower, damaging. Every time he carried, he broke through the line, had an offload, scored a good try. So I was impressed. And I know we were sceptical or critical of their forwards or what they were going to have, but they've got some outstanding hard running back rowers, which at the end of the day, if Rolsey's got him up to scratch and where he wants him to be and playing for him, and they've got a structure, which on the weekend they've got a structure to play to. They're going to be dangerous, and I think we'll see a much improved Parramatta team when they've got their full outfit out there with Moses and Dylan Brown in the halves.
The other thing is too, we said like Lomax and Addo Carr, like they're
still
genuine speed and power in the backfields, and then what's the best case for them? You think can they win it?
No, we're probably putting too much. We're probably putting a firecracker in the same with that they can win it. But after watching them on the weekend, they're a top 8 team. if they stay fit and they stay the way they did on the weekend. I know the team they played on the weekend was below average. Your old team, the Newcastle Knights, which is concerning. The concerning thing that come out from me from the weekend straight after the game was the players are getting pushed out is Hastings, Brayley, and Adam Elliott. I don't know the truth to it, but it's a big concern when your starting 9 is being getting told before the ball's even kicked for the NRL season, regular season, that he's not wanted. He's had some difficult times with his knee, but on the weekend he was probably one of their standout players.
Brails is captain too, isn't he? He was.
He would have been on the weekend. KP will be their captain.
So he was co-captain. But like you said, it's a big call to push a leader like that, isn't it? Publicly in the media.
Obviously, Adam Elliott be the leader, and then Jackson Hastings. I think Jackson Hastings or Cogger, well, they both probably need to be in the halves. I like them both. I think Jackson Hastings, he's got a steady head. I think that's what Newcastle need for the minute. Last year they had 11 combinations in the halves, and then they had another combination on the weekend. I don't know much about Fletcher Sharp. I don't know if you've seen him coming through when you were there. But as Push said, he's going to play 6. So it's going to be a new combination if that's the way. But on the weekend, they didn't seem to fire.
Yeah, it's just, you just touched on it. You know, the options there in the halves, Fletcher Sharp, to answer your question, I haven't seen a whole lot of him. Might have to find out his age if the boys here know how old he is. But, mate, he looks solid. Looked to me like he was a fair bit at second receiver more than that sort of game manager type of guy. Their best on-ball game manager is Jackson Hastings, but, you know, we know what we're going to get with Jackson. And the thing with Newcastle, for me, is where's the difference? Like, the boys up there have sort of left their run late the last couple of years, squeezed themselves into the 8, got through to the second round of the finals last year. But where's the difference? Like, unless KP has a 10 out of 10 game and wins Dally M, I can see him potentially making the top 6 if KP has his best ever season, which he's definitely capable of. But as you just said, that 11 halves changes over the last couple of years. And then, as you just said, they struggle with consistency. It's just, you know, I played there and got lots of friends up there, so obviously you want to see Newcastle do well, but yeah, I just don't know where the X factor's coming from besides KP in these big moments.
Yeah, it's a concern, but like I said, I thought Brayley was really good on the weekend. They will get KP back, and he's a big part of every team that he plays in. So hopefully they find their rhythm in their halves and they find a bit of structure there.
Tyson Gamble's a competitor though, isn't he? Like, he's obviously squeezed the lemon out of his ability over the last couple of years. He's sort of reminds me a bit of a Josh Reynolds. When Joshy Reynolds came through, he was all effort at the start. He obviously turned into a really good player and played State of Origin, but that same type of energy and effort, you could tell all his teammates really enjoy getting around him. And he had some really big games last year. You know, every now and then he'd play really well and stand out and really lead the side. So he's probably got one of the 6 or 7 jerseys for me out of that bunch. Will Price maybe off the bench as a 14. I see him more likely being off the bench if he's going to be in the squad. Yeah, I'll probably go with Jacko Hastings again just to start the year, but they're desperate for a marquee up there to help KP, aren't they?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, the Will Price one. Like, obviously, he was a regular starter in the Super League, and he's come out to Newcastle. He had a few games last year, and hopefully he'll get more games this year. But I wonder what the thought process is. Obviously, when I went to England or you went to England or France, you regular starters. Like, when they do come out here, wonder what they set themselves. If they don't play 1 year or 2 years, do they want to go back home? Because obviously you want to play at the top level. If you're coming out here and playing New South Wales Cup every week, do they consider going back home? Like, where do you reckon their heads are at when players from England or other countries come out to try and crack it in the NRL? Because obviously we know he's a superstar, but he just hasn't produced that yet here in Australia. Over in the Super League, he does that every week. So hopefully Will Price does get a bit of game time and sort of be a regular in the first grade.
Yeah, well, it's obviously experience, isn't he? He's obviously come out here to crack a start. It must be difficult too, moving away. Plenty of players have done it, but moving away from your family, and then if you're not playing week to week. But how long's he contracted? I'm not sure.
I'm not too sure what his contract is, but contracts these days are like fish paper wrappers. They don't mean much.
He'd be enjoying himself getting around Newcastle, wouldn't he? Good looking guy.
He's good looking. Tommy hangs with KP. They do their blogging that together. I'm sure he's not struggling. Tell you one team that did struggle on the weekend.
I'll be running off KP too up there.
Yeah.
I actually saw Will Price at the All-Stars game the other night. Matt Croker and Jack Johns, two good mates from when I was up there. Good young boys. Will Price was at the game. Seemed like a really nice fella. And I actually played against him over there a couple of times. He's a live wire. He's got unbelievable speed and really good instincts. So hopefully he gets some game time. We said it only last week. It'd be difficult, right? You're coming from a different country, different level and type of game that's played in England. If you're not getting week-to-week footy, it's sort of hard to sort of find your groove. So hopefully he can get his crack this year. And
boys, I just wanted to quickly jump in. He's signed until the end of 2025, Will Price. And Fletcher Sharp's 20 years old.
He might have 3 mistresses in Newcastle by then.
Well, yeah, so 2020, so yeah, to answer your question before, Mitch, 2025 for Will Price. Thanks, Tom Google. But so it could be his last year, depending on how he goes, and unless the club picks him up or he would go back to England. And Fletcher Sharp 20. Obviously, it's a good age to blood him there. But the thing is, I think if they start him at 6, they have to keep him there to give him those runs on the board and get him some game time there.
It's going to be interesting, Newcastle, like every year. It's a funny sort of that top probably position 6 to like 10 this year. There's a lot of teams sort of lurking around which are sort of a bit unknown, right? For me, I'd throw in Warriors, Newcastle, South, Manly, Cowboys maybe. Like there's a lot of those teams that you can sort of have a similar conversation about.
Give or take on their day. They need to be on their day. I think for those teams, they need their big gun players to play above 8 out of 10 performances for them to win. And if they don't get their 8 out of 10, which is hard week to week in the NRL, I don't think they can win if they don't have them big performances. A team that impressed me, had a big performance on the weekend, was the next team we'll be speaking about is the Dolphins versus the Cowboys, 50-8. It was our first look at the Wolf brothers, Christian and Ben. Obviously, Christian's the head coach and Ben's the assistant there. And we talk about young guys taking the opportunity, and that's what the best thing about trials is. There's always talk, trials are the right thing to do. What does it actually bring? There's always worried about injuries, but this young kid on the weekend, LJ Nono, 3 tries, puts himself in the picture to obviously start round 1 if he's scoring 3 tries. But what it does, it puts his name out there. He's a great finisher. The Dolphins' attack obviously had to look sharp if they're scoring 50 points. Blake O'Sullivan and Jake Averillo in our 6s and 7s that we like to talk about. We know what you get out of Blake. He steers his shit. Sean O'Sullivan, sorry. He steers his shit really well, and Averillo's a runner. Kurt Donahue at fullback. They were impressive. Obviously, the Cowboys missed the memo to defend. But to score 50 points, well done to the Dolphins, and well done to Christian and Ben Wolf to get them there to leak 8 also, because they're big on defence. I know Ben Wolf's massive on defence, and obviously Christian's the head coach, and he was the same. He was defence last year, so it was a fair effort from the Dolphins.
Yeah, it was. It was a great game from the Dolphins, but I'm sure Toddy Payton, even though it's a trial and you got young boys in there, wouldn't be happy with a 50-point scoreline. Everyone says trial games are to blood young guys and this and that. But, I mean, I'm sure you can't get too much confidence out of some of the defence that they tossed up on the weekend. There was so many inside shoulders and different things. So for me, it's a bit of a worry for Cowboys. I know they had a lot of players out, but as I said, you don't want to be getting beat by 50 in a trial game. I thought the Dolphins, for me, they're a similar one of those other sides I said just before around lurking around that 8. I think they're going to have a really good year. Yeah, the Dolphins with Christian Wolf taking over. You spoke about Sean O'Sullivan. He's a really solid first grader, isn't he, as a half? He was at the Broncos when he was in Sydney originally, wasn't he, at Penrith, went to the Broncos. Had a really rough start, Shawnee, when he was a kid. I think he did 2 ACLs or something when he was like 12 or 13. He's the son of Pete O'Sullivan, the great recruitment officer. So I knew Sean when he was a young kid, actually, when he was lurking around at the Roosters when his dad was there. And he'll be a great coach, Sean O'Sullivan, when he's older. He's got that type of temperament. But yeah, as a half, he runs a team as good as anyone. Knows his role, and he's a great foil there now with or without Katoa. If Katoa has a game off, you can get Shawnee in there to run the team. And Jake Averillo is always good wherever he goes. He played some good footy at the Dogs. They're sort of they're a hard, unpredictable side, the Dolphins. But I think they're going to have a good year. They'll be thereabouts. Some of their forwards, Ryan Jackson, Oblix, Tawa. I hope I said that right. They were lethal the way they were running the ball. And
yeah, they ran hard. And I reckon that's the Christian and Ben Wolf effect. They're aggressive. They like their boys to be fit and fast and rip in. It'll be interesting how they go with Katoa and Sean O'Sullivan, because last year Sean obviously ended up stepping in and taking over Katoa's position when obviously Wayne was a coach. So it'll be interesting to see how they line up for round 1, if it's Averillo and O'Sullivan or if it's Katoa, O'Sullivan, or vice versa.
Has to be Katoa. Has to be Katoa.
Yeah, well, we thought that, but it wasn't Katoa last year to win a must-win game. They went with O'Sullivan, obviously new coaches, so they'll be all. But sitting here saying it, yes, we think so, but then stranger things have happened. Like obviously they've still got Nicarima, where he fits into the mix. So they've got some depth there in that position. But like you said, I was impressed with the guys, that sort of the new guys on the scene there. Obviously the young kid I mentioned on the wing, scoring 3 tries. That's what you get out of the trials, and he'll be happy young fella this morning walking in training. He'll remember that day. For the Cowboys, they won't want to remember any of it. Obviously, they didn't have their big guns in there, lots of players to come back in. But we talk about the preseason challenge and stuff. Like, yes, they're trials, but there's bragging rights on the line. There's money on the line. So you probably want to go out and give a bit more of a better display than you did. Like you said, Mitch, like giving up the inside shoulder and things like that. They're effort areas. That's not teached or talent. It comes down to the effort, and it's like they wave the white flag in not the 12th round, it was the 4th round, and tossed it in and let it go. Where they change that, I'm sure Peyton will be sitting in the video room or in front of his computer now, pulling apart the video. And I know Peyton sort of lifts the lid on the shed, so I'm sure he'll be giving those blokes young blokes a rocket. And that's all about the learning curves of young kids when they play trials and stuff. That this is their benchmark, and that's what they got to get to, and they'll all be better off for it.
Yeah, well, sometimes a poor performance, just going back over your different games in trial games, sometimes a poor performance in a trial game can be a kick up the arse that you need just to get you back to effort area and desire for round 1. I always found sometimes, your you're approaching your trial game might be more of a focus around attack, because you've put in these new systems. Your attack coaches come up with new systems and new ways of playing. There's no points on the line, around win or loss. So you can go out there with maybe an all-out attack mentality, and then all of a sudden your D suffers, and then it takes that poor trial game to then go back into the video room, and then you come out and have your best defensive effort ever for round 1. Yeah, I've lived that. I remember plenty of games like that. But yeah, I just don't think any coach, the blowout scores in a lot of these games, there was some big score lines, and there'd be some disappointed coaches, I think, the morning after around defence. Even with young guys, you're inside, like you said, your inside shoulders, your effort areas. That's why Cronulla impressed me so much. Like, you could just tell that Fitzy had him in there, and so, regardless of whether we're playing a trial or playing a grand final, you do your 1%ers, and it's cool. It's cool watching the different sides and how they approach things and where they're at. And it's a funny thing, trials as well, though, isn't it? Now there's money in it with all the TV rights. You're getting $100K to win it, so there's half a little bit more to play. But then you're obviously there worrying about injuries and game time and that.
It's an interesting one you say that there, because the next game we're going to talk about is the Storm versus the New Zealand Warriors. The Warriors end up winning 36-10. But what the Warriors outfit looked like to the Storm outfit, Warriors were not full strength because they had some players playing in the All-Stars game, but they were thereabouts, where for the Melbourne Storm, they didn't have a lot of players. Their known players was Wishart, Fa'alogo, and their big star signing from the Tigers, Ikamanu. And then the rest were sort of all younger guys. Bronson Garlick, played 9, who's played a bit of first grade. But the rest of them were those young kids we're talking about, blooded. Warriors had a fair outfit out there. 36-10, I thought the Warriors looked sharp.
So for me, obviously, with the Warriors, there's always, we're talking about the halves for this year and what it was going to be like with Sean Johnson being out. The bloke for me that stepped up and took it with both hands is Metcalf. He was 7. Tavita Harris was the 6, and Tamari Martin was fullback. I thought Tamari would step up and dominate with the number 7 jumper over these trials, but he sort of sat back, and Metcalf took the opportunity. I think round 1 we'll see Metcalf play. He's got a great kicking game. He's got a better composure than I thought he would have with being a running 6 last year with Sean. And he's keen to run the ball, and he's a good defender. So it'd be interesting to see who partners in if they go with him. That's my opinion. But Warriors were impressive. Roger on the wing. Obviously, you know a lot more. He played with Roger. He was as a fullback, but he's just so devastating wherever he is. He's a good finisher. And on the weekend now, he was really good.
Yeah, I was super impressed watching him on the weekend. They obviously had Fisher Harris out, Mitch Barnett out as well. They're 2 leaders. But the way they played, you just spoke about the halves. I thought Luke Metcalf was really controlled, really organised, which is what they need from him this year with obviously Johnson retiring. But I thought he was really impressive. He had some really good kicks. He looked in control, and then you spoke about it too. Having the luxury there, Harris, Tavita, and Martin. For me, they play similar styles, touch player type style footy. Suits that Warriors culture up there, and they got some really good depth there. I also want to talk about Roger and how they use him. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, as you said, an old teammate of mine. Obviously, I think the best dynamics for the team is having Nicole Klostad. I always get mixed up saying his name. Tongue twister. Having him at the back, I think 100% is the best way for the team's dynamics, and having Roger out wide. But when we were in the Roosters, so 2013, we had Anthony Minicello, the great Anthony Minicello, who was our captain, and an ageing player who was at fullback, and we had Roger on the wing. The coaches came up with a plan to get Roger more involved. So Mini would play as a traditional fullback, all in the backfield. As soon as we got over halfway, off dropouts, good ball sets, tap starts, Roger would come in at fullback and Mini would go on the wing. I'd love to see them do this. You get the luxury of Roger in the backfield, which he's great out of as an outside back, getting in, scooting, getting out in yardage carries, getting Nicole Klostad. I'm stuffed with, I can't say his name.
Charles Nickel Klostad.
But yeah, I'd love to see them play this style, because what impressed me the most is if Luke Metcalf can be that organiser, that steady head, that game manager, and you got Harris, DeVita, Martin, Roger, and your man Nickel Klostad.
Charles Nickel Klostad.
running around the ruck with all their speed and ad-lib. Then you got Mitch Barnett, Fisher Harris and all their middles that they got up front. They're a genuine threat. They were only 2 years ago, they were everyone's favourite team, going close to winning the comp, fizzled out at the back end. And then last year they sort of come down to a bit of reality. But I honestly think they can swing with the best of them. And what I like about it and the way the game's going with the young legs and all the athletic bodies now and a lot of the Islander boys, they've got the mix. So for me, get Roger in and around the ball in good ball, and you'll win more games.
Well, it frees them up a little bit, isn't it? Because we were worried about, with Harris retiring in the off-season with his knee, was a concern of how they were going to sort of play that middle part of the field. But if they've got those nippy guys or strong running guys through the middle and sort of giving a different look to the defence with those guys sort of rushing through the middle, obviously when Dylan Walker comes on from the bench, he brings that dynamic and pass out the back. But yeah, I'm with you. I think if the Warriors can put it together consistently and find their groove with what you're talking about, they're definitely a threat. They're always a threat. They're a big threat when the game of rugby league gets behind them because they get so much traction over there. Obviously, one team, their supporters rally behind them. That they pretty much sold every game out last year. So if you can get that Warriors for the teams playing and here or there, it's going to be a challenge for them because, like you said, they've got some big players. Obviously, we haven't seen the Fisher Harris effect yet, but you'll see it change. Obviously, your great mate Mitch Barnett, they're leaders and they want to win and they'll rally the players, whoever's around them, to get to that standard each week. And if they can get that standard week in, week out more consistently than not, as you said, they're a definite threat.
Yeah, they're great to watch. Even when you said if they were to go with Harris Tavita in, talking about halves again, we always go back to that. But if they had Harris Tavita at 6 outside Luke Metcalf, I'd love to even see Martin just come on as a 14. He's got a great show and go, doesn't he? It's similar to, remember when he was at Penrith?
The thing is,
he can run the ball.
Yeah. The only thing you lose if he comes on as a 14 is you sacrifice a big middle on the bench because they need to go with Dylan Walker on the bench also, who comes on. I like Harris Tavita because he's a left footer. You got a right foot in Metcalf, Harris Tavita left foot. So it opens up the field for them for their kicking game because while Metcalf's put on display that he can kick well, in the heat of the moment in big games, you need two kickers and take a bit of relief off him. And I think Tavita can do that if he sticks to his guns and sort of kicks the ball along. I'm always worried about he sort of tries to guide the ball a little bit and just chip it up to not make any errors. I want him to sort of push the limit and have a rip at it. So, yeah, I like the Warriors. I think the Storm, obviously, it's hard to talk about them with a lot of the players they had out. But one thing we will touch on for the Storm is obviously sad news. Christian Walsh retired, medically retired last week, which will be the way the Melbourne Storm are, won't let him affect them, but it'll be a big hole to fill. Obviously, he'll have some kind of a role at their club moving forward because that's what Melbourne Storm do. But just his presence on the field, he gets through a fair load of work. But just we know what Melbourne's about. They're about leaders. They're about their systems and stuff. And even his presence in around the huddle and the talk he would have, he's front and centre in a lot of those things. So they'll miss that. So Christian, I wish you all the well in retirement, mate. And hats off to you for an outstanding career.
Yeah, I'll just jump on the back of that. Congratulations. What a player at all levels. From all reports, just an outstanding all-round guy. He's a real spokesman for the players through the RLPA and always pushing players' rights. You can just see all the teammates love him, and he's just smarter than everyone. He went to Harvard. I read the other day he's done all these courses in business and everything, but I think he had something to do with Harvard or something. So it's probably a smart move. Get paid out 2 years retirement and then build your business empire.
Yeah.
He's a genius. But no, what a career. And I said it only the other day about his kick pressures, like all those, talk about those effort areas and what wins comps, and Melbourne have set the benchmark for that for a long time. But he is the effort man. He's the guy who squeezed the lemon, didn't play rep footy as a young kid, come out openly about how he's had to work hard for everything, and they're your greatest teammates, those guys. And his effort out areas, kick pressures, he was always there when it counts. So congratulations, mate.
To game 5 after that, obviously talking about that sad news. Manly versus South. Manly 34, South 24. It was 34-8, I think, was the last sort of 10 minutes, and South laid on some tries. We always speak about it, our 6s and 7s here, and they're 7 at Manly on the weekend. Jake Arthur impressed me. Obviously, there's always been big raps on him as a kid, but when Cherry's not there, he got an opportunity to play in the halves, and he played with Matheson. They played really well together. Their attack was outstanding. They moved the ball around. They got to their positions in the field. We talk about their wide trams or playing 6-7 and 6-9 and 1, 6-1 and 7 together. They've done that really well on the weekend and just pulled South apart. Their beast winger Raymond Vega. Wow.
Yeah.
We talk about trials again, and they unearth some players. And a big thing for Manly this year is that they've lost Croker for the first 6 weeks. So there was a hooker shootout on the weekend in Jake Simpkins. Played really well. They're fighting for that. They're talking about Tavunga maybe playing 9. But on the weekend, he impressed. So that's what we say about trials. It gives an opportunity for players to stake their claim, and they both done really well. South, for me, still lots of players to come back in. For me, my eyes are on Dodd. He didn't he didn't do nothing much wrong. He didn't do heaps to impress me. Obviously, some players to come back in there. His first start here in Australia. What were your thoughts on the whole game?
Yeah, I thought Manly, with obviously the players out with Cherry, Lukey Brooks, the Travojevic, Tom at the back, all these boys out, they're obviously their team, their main men, not playing. Yeah, Madison and Arthur. How good was Arthur? I was happy for him. He's come into first grade, sort of had sort of a mixed bag. Obviously, the son of a coach, a lot of pressure on him. I was really happy for him. I love what he did. He had some really good touches. He looked silky. A couple of the things he was doing there. Had his hand in a few tries. So, yeah, he was really good, and it's a great foil there. Manly, I'm sure Anthony Seabolt will be pretty happy watching 2 guys put into those positions with his stars out and doing such a good job. It'll give him confidence for some consistency through the year. And look, I look at Manly, like for them, it's going to be consistency again and how they handle that defensive load week to week. But you look at their pack, Olakau'atu, Sipley, Paseka. Like me and you went out and we got the luxury or the privilege of being asked to go and speak to Manly around some lifestyle changes and that type of stuff, which we were so grateful for. But honestly, how big were they?
Mate, they're monsters. And the whole room.
And we spoke about those 3 names. For me, Olakau'atu, Sipley and Paseka, like they were, if you've never seen them, fans, they were 6'3" easy. Just towering, massive, big boys, and with that mixed in with Cherry and Brooksy and the Travojevic boys, it's a top class team there. And as I just said, their young boys stood up on the weekend, which is a great credit to their development there. So Manly's going to have their big wins this year. They're going to have games where they blow teams off the park just because of the players they got, and obviously with Ches and that there, they're going to be. They're going to be good. It's how they find consistency, and I'm excited to watch them again. I don't know if Manly can win the comp. I know the boys here will be filthy to hear that. I don't think they can win the comp, but every year I love watching Manly play because I love the style of footy they play, and if they can find some consistency in their D finally, which they've lacked for a while, they're every chance. But how far they go will depend on that consistency. I've said consistency about 6 times, but it's the truth.
And what about South? Where did you get much of a look at Dodd? And it's going to be a big challenge for him. We know that. Obviously, Cody will be his number 6, and Latrell will be fullback. But he's got a lot of work to do to steer those guys around the field. I might be hard on him early. obviously the thing is, and I won't know. We probably won't know. Like Wayne wasn't the coach when South signed him. Does he like start with him early, or do they look at the combination of Cody Walker and White and again for the 7 and 6 to start the year, or even if Cody's fit? There's talk that he's tore his calf, hasn't he?
It's not good.
Yeah, so it's going to be a challenge, but it's a challenge for any half. New to the game, well, not new to the game, like he's won plenty of comps over in the Super League and stuff, but it's a challenge to come out here because all eyes are on him. Like he's going to have a lot of pressure playing at South with those players and trying to perform each week, and then obviously the media will jump on the back of it and things like that. So hopefully he does find his groove, and when you get a full South outfit, I think we can probably be a bit more of a judge on how his performances are once they're fully fit and they're ready to go round one.
Yeah, he'll be right. He'll be good. I think, like we just said, we spoke about how good Arthur and Madison played for Manly. Manly played really good. It's Lewis's first game. The nerves coming out from Super League, change of speed in the NRL, and not having your two marquees outside you. Like, Lewis Dodd with Cody and Latrell outside him is a completely different story. So he came into his first game, without much direction around him and those leaders. I ran into Lewis Dodd at Bondi Junction just after he'd arrived and had a good chat with him. He was a really good lad and got his contact, and we've been messaging bits and pieces and had a bit of a chat on the phone. And I really wish him well this year. I think he'll do really well. He's just going to. I hope the fans and the spectators aren't quick to judge. Give him time. Let him blend into his role there. He's definitely the best fit for the 7 jersey.
Was that a stab at me?
You can say whatever you want. We don't have to agree.
I'm not saying, was that a stab at me? Give him time.
Well, it's just I don't care. I'm just saying, give him time.
Wait, don't get your back up because you saw because I carried you yesterday. Don't get your back up. We've spoken about the boxing fight me and you're going to have, so don't start early.
Yeah, I'm ready. No, I just said, like, give him time. He's going to take, I think physically and defensively it'll take him a bit of time to adjust, but I think, playing with Cody and Latrell there, they're going to take a lot of pressure off him. All he needs to do is just kick well and organise. And I'm sure Wayne Bennett, you can't get a better mentor to deal with the pressure than Wayne Bennett. So I think he's definitely the best fit there and he'll do well. My advice is just make your tackles, play tough and physical, and everything else will come off the back of it. And I think we'll see some good footy. Maybe not at the start, but once he gets his groove, if they stay consistent with him, they'll get some good footy out of him. Is that all right with you, or are you filthy?
No, I'm not filthy. I never get filthy at you, but I knew you were having a little stab at me, so I'm just... I'm used to your
outlandish opinions.
What's that?
I'm used to your outlandish opinions.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Well, come at me then. Like I say, opinions are like arseholes. Everyone's got one.
Yeah, exactly.
Another team we will have an opinion on is the Titans versus the Broncos. And the Broncos, wow, what a performance. 50-12. With some big-name players still out, but we've seen the Madge effect on display on the weekend. Jock Madden and Billy Walters in the halves. Corey Pakes at 9 just destroyed the Titans early. They were too fast. The lines or the ruck speed was so fast that the Broncos just dominated all areas of the game. They just sort of rolled through them, found their front, and just made it too hard for them to defend. And the Broncos capitalised on it with some really good football. I was impressed. Obviously, those players I mentioned are all fighting for that number 14 or 9 spot. Blake Moses, they're saying, will start 9, but there's the 6 and 7s for the Broncos will be obviously Hunt and Reynolds, but they need someone to find that 14 spot, and those 3 guys all put their hand up. So Madge has got some decisions to make for that spot, but well done to the Broncos because they played a pretty stacked Titans outfit.
Yeah, well, the Broncos are going to be... We spoke about it last week about their defence, and what Madge is going to bring. And honestly, their ruck defence was so tidy, and that's what they've lacked. Well, that's what they lacked last year. But you watched them closely yesterday. Their ruck D was, their wrestle, their ruck D, all those things we keep going back to, those 1%ers, was so impressive. Obviously, they got Benny Teo up there as assistant coach. You had a fair bit to do with him on Triple M this year up in Queensland. Baz is there doing their attack. So they're going to have the perfect balance defensively and in attack, and they got the troops to do it. Like, they got the best roster. We said it last week. They got the best young roster in the game. Just, you look across the board, they just got big athletes and good footballers. Yeah, Madden was really good yesterday. That's great news for the club. If an ageing Adam Reynolds carries some twinges, little injuries during the year, it's great to have someone like that be able to step up and lead your team around. But yeah, they're big hitters this year. They're going to be right up there for mine. And yeah, there's not much else you can say except look forward to watching them play. As long as they stay injury free, and yeah, with Madge's influence there with their defence and having that foot on the throat mentality, they'll go with anyone.
They've just got so much strike when they've got their full team on the field. Like, the players that we'll talk about, obviously, from the trial on the weekend, Dean Mariner on the weekend, he was just electric. They're like, they've always tipped him that he's going to be a superstar, and on the weekend he showed glimpses of that. Obviously, the players that we've already spoken about stepped up, but when they've got their full outfit, they can stay fit. And then obviously through that origin period, they might lose a couple of players, obviously their superstar and Reece Walsh and stuff. If they can, I know we always talk about teams putting it together, and that's cliche because if any team puts it together, they win. But Broncos are a definite threat to win the comp if they can put it together. Where other teams put it together, they scrape into the 8. Where Broncos put it together, they finish on top, or they're thereabouts at the back end of the year when it counts. So,
I'll tell you what, I love Toddy, Jordan Ricky. I watched him. I was at the game on the All-Stars game on Saturday night, and just at the kickoff, he was on the right edge, so right edge back row, just where I was sitting. What a specimen! Like, his body and just the way he runs, he's just perfect prototype for like that modern day back rower. Yeah, I just wanted to give him a rap because watching him on the weekend close, he's such a good player.
Where's the Titans at, do you think? Obviously, there was concerns, obviously, from the scoreline of what it would be. They put a fair star-studded lineup. How long them players? They didn't play the whole game, obviously, but the damage was done early for the Broncos. The Broncos obviously put on the damage early. There's obviously talk coming out that Kieran may play 90. Didn't on the weekend. Preston's young fella, Campbell, at 7 and Brimo 6. Or there's obviously always speculation in every team of where they're going to play. But yeah, Titans for me obviously weren't up to scratch on the weekend with the scoreline. But I'll make my judgment on the Titans once the season starts, because last year I was quite critical of them early, but then listening to obviously Kieran and their leaders talk about how they're going to fix things. They're only a few games away from missing the 8 last year, so I'll make judgment when the whips are cracking in round 1. But it would be definitely a concern from the weekend. I'm sure they'd be disappointed with it. They'd be in the team room today working out what went wrong and trying to fix that for this coming weekend. But yeah, it's definitely a concern.
Yeah, I hate hearing that Kieran Foran going to play hooker or 14 off the bench. And you just spoke about the Titans, even with Jaden Campbell at 7. Like, for me, he's got to play running 6 outside Foz as a 7.
Yeah.
Like, you just spoke about their consistency and like the Titans last year, any game that they won, and they had a slow start to the year, the games that they won, it was Kieran guiding the ship, like with effort areas and desire, that older head leader, and then just good footy off the back of Kieran being that sort of that main leader. So I see it again this year where they're at. They're not going to be physically in every game. I just don't think that they got that defensive steel unless they can change things fast. But from sort of the way they finished last year and the bit of the culture they got there this year, and then the way that they performed in the trial game, I just don't think week to week they're going to be up physically and defensively. So they need to go out they need to have all their leaders on the field. They need to have guys like Kieran steering the ship, bringing guys like Jaden Campbell and Brimo and these guys into the game, from my opinion. So I hate hearing that Foran might be at hooker or 14. It's just my
I'm with you there.
opinion. I might be a bit biased, but I think most fans would agree. Like they need where they're at. They need all their leaders on the field in big moments to guide a younger group, a loose group defensively at times, to victory. And I'm a bit worried for the Titans.
Yeah, well, and I think, and you've got Varels, he's a grand final winner, he's in the 9. I think you need to stick him at 9, keep him there. And then they're talking about, there's obviously a concern. There's always concerns when and it's a lot of it's all media concerns, or not concerns, but like who's going to play here and there. But when it's coming out this time of the year, before the ball's even kicked, who's going to be in your halves, it means you're not really sure of where it's going to be. So hopefully by round 1 they do have that, because we know how important it is to have a cohesion in your 6, 7, 9 and 1. And as we said, like Kieran's a great mate of yours and a mate of mine. Hopefully he does wear that number 7 jumper, because I think he's the best fit there. But at the end of the day, we're not coaches at the Titans.
Thankfully. Sixes and Sevens is brought to you by Good Day Daily Multivitamins.
If you're looking to take your health a little more seriously and are not quite sure where to start, Good Day is a simple and effective way to get yourself essential vitamins and minerals.
Packed with over 60 health benefits and 100% of your B vitamins, it's the easiest way to feel good fast.
With a delicious passion fruit taste, just pour 1 sachet into water and you're good to go.
Head to begoodhealth.com.au and use the code HALVES for 10% off your order. It's the least you can do. Woo!
We do talk about young kids on show, and this next game we'll talk about is the Bulldogs and the Tigers, 20-14, which is a great scoreline for a group of young kids. We've got to look at both teams, the future of what's to come for them. Obviously, when we talk about the Tigers and their future is Lockie Galvin. But a kid that impressed me was Joseph O'Neill. He played in the halves with Hutchinson on the weekend, but just he looked composed, dug into the line like we talk about when we talk about halves. He played square, but he took risks. Play 3, kick at a yardage, to kick long, where a lot of halves would wait because they're worried about what the team would say. But he really performed. And a young flying winger, Ratu Rinakama, for the Dogs, Fijian kid, lit it up on the weekend. I know we talk about our Fijian flyers and our superstar wingers, and we've just unearthed another one on the weekend. So, like we say, we've bagged trials a little bit, but we've unearthed some not superstars. We don't put that on them straight away, but so we've got some glimpses of what's to come in the future for both these clubs, and it was good to see.
Yeah, it was an enjoyable game to watch. It's sort of good. You sort of, when you have those top players out of games and they bring in all the younger boys, but like how good are they? How quick are they? And
fast.
They're just so fast. It makes when you're an older guy and watching that, you just think I wouldn't even be able to get back to 10 or handle half their footwork. Like honestly, they're so good to watch, especially a lot of those young Islander kids, especially like you said, those outside backs. So Galvin had some nice touches. He had a nice little play down the short side, but credit to the Dogs. They're building, aren't they? Obviously with what Gus does out there with that academy and all the stuff he did at Penrith. But you can sort of see like they're starting to create a pretty strong club out there, aren't they? And to be able to do that without their top players playing, or all their top players playing, to be really diligent and just really blood a lot of young boys, but allow them to play with confidence, was really impressive. I think the Tigers do a good job at that as well, and that's a bit of the Benji effect. You know, he'd be encouraging his young boys to play with flair and eyes up footy, and you saw a bit of a glimpse of that in the game. A lot of them backing themselves with like I said, really good footwork and speed, and it's good to see. I enjoy watching the trials when you're getting those type of guys coming through, and gives everyone a bit of a chance to see the next generation, and hopefully some of those boys can get a start this year.
You know what I like coming out of trials when the young guys are like on the weekend, when both teams were scoring tries, if the Dogs scored or the Tigers scored, how quick they run in their Yahoo and jumping up over their shoulders. And that's a sign of young kids gelling together, like they're all comfortable in that environment. So obviously when it's a bit more level-headed when there's the senior players out there, because it's just like that. Don't get too far ahead of yourselves. But the excitement on them young kids and what Wood done for them yesterday is next level, and it's good to see. I got a little bit inside mail on the plane home last night, my late flight home. I was jumping off the plane and I got a tap on the shoulder, and it was Toby Sexton's mum.
Oh, yeah?
She asked what I was up to. She actually said he was at the airport. I was face down doing some homework. But I played golf with Toby at the McPhee Foundation Golf Day this year, and she mentioned that, and that's why she had a chat to me, and I asked how he was going, and she said he's going really well. He'll be playing this week, and from more reports from his mum, so the scoop is that he'll be starting 7 for the Dogs this year. So
is it true, Toddy, that he got some community award last year or something that they do, the NRL, just to show what type of guy he is? I read something the other day. There's a community. What's the community award called, boys? You know, like the stuff where you go out. I don't think it was with disabled kids, or don't. I have to look it up. But he got some sort of community award. Ken Stevens Award. So
he's an impressive young kid.
Must be impressive, dude.
The Community Player of the Year award.
That's the one.
I played the golf day with him. He was in my team. He's an impressive young kid. It was the first time I met him. Obviously, there was lots of raps on him coming through school footy. Started young at the Titans, sort of got pushed out the door, and like all halves, we like them to find their feet, and we want them to do really well. It's why we're here, and we're talking. We're 6s and 7s. That's why we sort of put the spotlight on them players. So he's a good young man, Toby, and hopefully his mum scoops right. Otherwise, I'll be getting burnt.
Your mum can't lie, can she? Like,
no, but hey, mums like to tell what people want to hear for their sons. I know my mum probably told plenty of times, he's starting fullback or starting 5'8".
Your mum might have been Buzz's snitch.
Yeah, probably. I'll give her a ring and ask. On to your team, the Sydney Roosters versus Dragons. You're out there live on the weekend. Dragons 26, Roosters 8. I didn't get a whole glimpse of it. I watched the highlights of this one. I was sort of in between talking to you, or we're not talking to you, messaging you and getting sorted at the airport. But it's strange to see Gutho in a Dragons jumper.
Yeah. And
away from the Parramatta jersey, but it was a good glimpse to see. The parts I've seen, I thought he gelled really well. The bits and the highlights I've seen, obviously on the highlights you see a lot of the tries and stuff. Dragons attack looked good. Obviously Cook, Ilias and Flanagan and Gutho 1-6-7-9-1 we talk about is a big part of every team's success, and they looked like they gelled really well on the weekend.
Kyle Flanagan, you just touched on him. He got a try early on a show and go, and then he kicked a little ricochet kick early, but he looked really good. So I was really happy for Kyle. He's had a bit of a up and down start to his career, and he's copped a bit of criticism. It's always hard if your dad's a coach and in and around the game. So I was really happy for Kyle, and watching his body language. I was obviously at the game, so I was watching his body language after each try, and he would have got a lot out of it, I think. You could tell he was getting a bit of confidence and belief out of that trial game. So, well done to Kyle. And I thought, the new look Dragons with Cookie, Gutho and Valentine Holmes just gave them a little bit of class. I could even see in the huddle, they got a bit of experience, a bit of class there now that they've sort of could be good for him. The boys, obviously Cookie's getting a bit older, but he's a seasoned vet and a really good, really great player. So, Dragons, those guys for me with a bit of an edge for the Dragons in that first half. Roosters blooded a lot of younger boys. First half, obviously Chaddy played, was really steady, led the guys around steady, which is what he's going to give them this year, Chad Townsend. For me, my man Toby Rodwell, young half, played in the second half. Got a bit of a relationship with him, done a little bit of stuff this year. I can't claim anything to do with anything he did good, but I was really happy for him. He's a really good kid, and he's going to be an NRL player for a long time, but he was really good in the second half. If you get a chance to watch back, Todd, he kicked really well, just played that really simple role really well. He digs into the line great, so Tobes will probably definitely get a start, I think, this year at one point. But, I was I think it would have been a good hit out for the Roosters boys. Obviously, I was disappointed that we didn't get the win, but being a trial game with a lot of our senior players out, that it'll be a grain of salt for them, I think, and they'll be ready to go round one. You bring back Lindsay Collins, Angus Crichton back in. It's a whole different side. But yeah, it's going to be an interesting start, I think, for both of those teams. Sort of, we spoke about those sides lurking around the 8. Well, Roosters definitely are one of those sides, and how they find consistency early in the year with key positions is going to be their test. And we spoke about it with all the transition of players, so we'll see how they go. But the boys would have got a lot out of it.
What's your take on the Dragons? You reckon they're a top 8 team? From what you've seen on the weekend live, obviously they didn't play the whole game, but there's some big ins for the Dragons. They can't be ignored. Obviously, Cook, Gutho, Valentine Holmes, they're big ins to any team. And while you showed glimpses last year of the Dragons, Lachlan Ilias, so there's some big ins there. Are they a top 8 team? Do you have them in your top 8? If I have to pick a top 8 now, are they in your top 8?
Nah, I still think, for me, the Dragons, I don't know. I just think I don't know. I don't think they'll be top 8. But I think they'll be around there. They can find some momentum. I think they'll have some good forms. They'll play some good form through the season. But Ben Hunt's a big out for them. I know. Yeah. There's a lot riding on Flano. Like I said, I was really happy for him and happy that he had a bit of a spring in his step and he played. So he had some really good touches. And being sevens, we know how good you feel when you have a bit of an impact, even when it is a trial game. And he's only a young kid, so he'll be good for him. And he's going to be, as I said, there's a lot of weight on his shoulders this year. And Benny Hunt. People criticised Benny Hunt while he was at the Dragons, but he was playing in a side that was very up and down, inconsistent. And one thing you get with him is he's one of the greatest competitors to play the game. He's a 300-plus game player at all levels. So you take out his maturity in those big moments, they're probably going to look to a Gutho or Cookie. Are they in those key positions to have that impact, though? As a half, well, probably not. Gutho can lead the team with effort areas and stuff like that. But, we'll just wait and see. I'm not sure. I don't know if they'll make the 8, the Dragons.
Yeah. I won't hammer you about the Roosters and what you think. I think, as we just mentioned before, it's be testing times for them. We'll test their character early. I think they'll find their groove, the Roosters. They've got too many star players to not. But they'll have challenges at the start here, like we both mentioned anyway. The big spectacle of the weekend, our All-Stars game, which is a massive occasion on all calendars for the rugby league world, with the Maori All-Stars versus Indigenous All-Stars. Obviously, the girls played before them, and they got to display their cultures. The atmosphere looked unbelievable from me sitting on my couch. Obviously, you were there live, you said. Jesse Arthur's getting the prestigious Preston Campbell medal. And when I say prestigious is because I was listening to JT in the commentary on the weekend. He puts his Preston Campbell medal up there with his Dally M medals because their culture means so much to him. And I think it's a massive, massive part of the game. The moments before the games, obviously they're both their haka and their dance, the tribal dance is it's so good to watch. Susie doesn't watch much footy. I had her mum and my mother-in-law and Susie sitting line glued watching the TV when it was on. So I'd love to see what it would be like live. And you got that experience. And what'd you take out of it?
Yeah, honestly, man, it was unbelievable. I had my in-laws here too, both from France. Father-in-law loves the footy, and he was blown away. He had a bit of a tear in his eye even at the warm-up, at the pre-game entertainment, and I won't lie, I did a bit too. Honestly, the energy in the room with that culture and all the fans and how much passion there was. I had a row of Indigenous fans in front of me, and just to see how proud they are. You don't really get that. As a player, you're sort of in the mix of it and you're more from a competitive point of view. To sit there as a fan and go there and feel the energy in the room from the Maori culture to the Indigenous, honestly, it was emotional. And I really enjoyed it. And it was great to, as I said, go with my father-in-law who hasn't been around NRL or rugby league before. to learn and see and ask questions about the Indigenous culture. And honestly, I loved it, and I think it's a thing that's got to stay around in the game. I'm sure if you ask those players, and you look at some of the effort areas that the players were playing, like the chase backs, honestly the first 2 hit ups off the kickoff were like Origin standard, and the players were fighting for their life, and as you said, it runs deep. They're playing for their communities, they're playing for their people, and even at half time they go around and do the shake the leg with a little Aboriginal kid doing his shake the legs in the stands. And like honestly, it was a great atmosphere, and it's great for the game, and I genuinely mean that. It was emotional watching it, and I think it's a great spectacle. And to hear Jonathan Thurston say that medal means nearly as much to him as a Dally M, it speaks of what it means to the people.
Oh, 100%. And if they can get back into their roots and find out about their culture and stuff like that, and which is the game needs it. And as you've spoken about, players will put their bodies on the line, nil or half time. Like in games like that, you expect a little bit of footy to be thrown around, more tries probably than not, but nil or half time, and then to finish 10-6, it shows what it meant to them. They fought to the death.
Look at Toddy. Look at that Brendan Naden tackle. That was, who did he chase down? He chased someone down right at the end. They ended up losing the game, but I think there was a chance for the Maoris to go in earlier. But just the efforts that they were putting in was like an Origin. On a smaller scale, but it was the energy and intensity and passion was like an Origin.
And we talk about, obviously, Kalen Ponga, a superstar of our game, and he's been up and down with his injuries last year and stuff like that, but he put his hand up to play. Like, there was question marks around his eligibility for the Australian team last year, and I don't want to get into that debate about what actually went on, but he put his hand up to play for his Maori All-Stars on the weekend, and he showed glimpses of what we're going to get this year from Kalen, which was great. The game needs it. It needs to stay on the calendar. I know the players are pushing for it. Nico is a big advocate of it. It was hats off to everyone involved with the game. Obviously, rugby league's the winner out of it, but what it done is brought so many people together.
Yeah, it'd be cool to see like a mini-series. I know it's game's always looking to evolve, but with the Tongan, Samoan, Indigenous,
the Pacific Cup they're talking about.
Yeah, but even sort of
Nico's trying to
state of origin type setup.
Indigenous team to go in the Pacific Cup at the back of the year. I know they played the different games, which it's obviously he's pushing to talk about it.
Yeah, I'd be interested to hear a bit more about that off air, but how it looks. But yeah, if they can sort of create that kind of hostile origin, culture in and around that type of stuff. Because honestly, the passion they bring's way better than a lot of these us white people. Honestly, like the white culture, that's just their cultures run so deep.
Before we finish off, because some people do have to work these days, and I know you don't work, you sit on the beach at Coogee.
Hang on a second, you keep talking about me not working. You're in Hawaii and New York for 2 weeks. You're in Sydney yesterday. You're in Sydney tomorrow. You're one of those throw-off dudes.
Yeah, I'm in Sydney tomorrow working.
Sitting up there in your Hamptons house on 3 acres telling everyone else that they don't work. You're the best.
Hey.
Old loose Todd Carney, he's a multi-millionaire.
Hey. Don't start talking about that just because you're a little bit bitter. All right, before we finish up, I'm going to play a game with you. I need you to finish the sentence. I'm going to say a name, and I just want you to talk about the name or finish your sentence, okay?
Do I elaborate or just say just that?
What?
Go on. Just wanted to wig you out.
Ponga
is a freak.
New South Wales will
win this year.
The greatest number 7 of all time is?
Andrew Johns, my man. I love him.
Alan, not Langer, your dog.
Alan the dog. Should I tell the story quickly?
Tell the story quickly.
So I had a dog called Alan, and it was one of my early Origin series, and I was with a partner at the time, my missus at the time, and we went to the dog at Westfield Shopping Centre. I bought a dog, little pug dog. Came home, called him Alan. Had to go on Origin camp. I got picked for Origin the next day, and it had a 10-day cooling off period that you got half your money back if you dropped the dog back within 10 days. So I went into camp and I was telling all the boys my dog's name was Alan. There's a few staff members that still call me Alan to this day. They thought it was hilarious when they were looking at photos of the little pug dog. And anyway, every night going into Origin camp, my missus was calling me. She couldn't sleep. Alan was just crying all night and just causing a havoc. But she fell in love with Alan. She didn't want to get rid of him. And I said, look, there's two options. I'm in Origin camp. I'm trying to win. I've got a game in 10 days. We've got the 10-day cooling off period. We either drop it back or we hold on to Alan. Anyway, Alan.
Cooling off period.
There's a cooling off period, half your money back.
You're not buying a house.
Well, anyway, I gave Alan back, and I really hope he's doing well.
I had one more question, but I'm going to leave it at that. Thanks for listening to our fans and subscribers. 6s and 7s, episode 3. I can't wait for episode 4 on Wednesday. We'll be diving into the games of the weekend coming forward. Actually, we've got 4 teams we'll be reviewing for the 2025 season.
I'm following your lead, brother. You're outstanding. I love this.